Ken Whiting here with yet another in-depth, unbiased gear review. And in this video, I'm reviewing the Hurricane 125 Sport. The Prima 125 Sport has a retail price of $1,500 US. It's 12 feet, 5 inches long. It's 29 inches wide. It weighs 40 pounds without the seat and 4 pounds more with the seat. It has a capacity of 375 pounds, or 170 kilos. The boat features foot braces, 2 bulkheads, one in front of the foot braces and one behind the seat, a stern hatch that can be opened in either direction, a gear track for mounting accessories on the front of the kayak, molded grab handles, thigh pads for comfort, and best of all, a removable frame seat with fore and aft adjustment. Well, it's time to get this boat on the water and give it a good test paddle so I can tell you what I like, what I don't like. More importantly though, who this kayak is designed for and is it good value. This 12.5 foot length recreational kayak, sit inside with a big open cockpit, that isn't really a revolutionary thing on its own. What's really neat about this kayak is the fact that it's just sitting on my shoulder. It's a really light kayak for its size, and that's because it's made by thermoforming and not rotomolded like most plastic kayaks are. The result is a significantly lighter boat to move around, and it's a stiffer boat. It's a stiffer and smoother boat, so it should glide through the water nice, but there's only one way to find out if it does what it's supposed to do, and that's to get it on the water, and so here we go. Well, I can't think of a better day to go for a test paddle than a day like today, except for the fact that it was hard to stay focused on testing the kayak. I was enjoying the day too much, which says something about how much I enjoyed this kayak, but I'm not going to get into that right away. I'm going to break down this kayak like I always do. But before I do that, I want us to let you guys know about a new free online course from the ACA. Now, this is something I mentioned a couple of years ago. The ACA, American Canoe Association, came out with a free online paddling safety course. If you haven't done it, you should definitely go do it. Not to mention, it's not bad to go do it as a refresher. But they just released 3 new modules: a kayak fishing module, a kayaking rescues module, and a nautical rules of the road module, which is, in particular, it's designed for paddlers who are going to be paddling in bodies of water that have bigger boat traffic. And there's some real rules to know there. Now, I just did them, and it take a couple of minutes. It's free, it's online, it's easy, and it was a great refresher, a great reminder for experienced paddlers, but for new paddlers, inexperienced paddlers, it's a must do, I would say. You can't have too much safety information. So I'll leave a link in the description box down below to the original ACA paddling safety course and the new modules as well. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, so now let's talk about the Hurricane Prima 125 Sport, starting with portability, like I always do. 12.5 feet long. That 12-foot long kayak is one of the most popular kayaks, and that's because it's quite a manageable length. When you get longer than 12 feet, longer than 14 feet and up, the kayaks just become more unwieldy to carry, to transport, to just move around. And so it is a very portable size at 12 feet long, but where it really gets its portable marks and beats out most of the other kayaks in that 12-foot range is because of its weight. At 40 pounds, 44 or so with the seat, but you can take the seat. It's a removable frame seat, so you can take that seat out and just carry it with the kayak. 40 pounds is not a big deal to move around, especially for a sit-inside kayak that can sit nicely on your shoulder, and it balances very well there, especially the leg pads serve as shoulder pads when you're carrying it. So for a hard shell kayak, portability, really top marks. Now, performance, and let's do performance and stability. This class of kayak, this 12-foot kayak, 29 inches wide, it's designed to provide a good balance of performance and stability. It's still a recreational kayak. And really what that means is it puts a lot of emphasis on stability. Recreational kayaks should make you feel very stable, give you confidence when you're in them, not feel like you're going to tip at any moment. This kayak very much had that. No big surprise at 29 inches. It was stable, not crazy stable. I wasn't going to stand up in it, even though I'm sure I could. But yeah, exactly what I expected. Anybody can hop in this kayak and feel confident. Speed, performance. This is where it shines. This boat felt kind of like a torpedo cutting through the water. It doesn't have a lot of rocker. And so that means it doesn't turn super fast, but it goes straight. And the really sharp bow keel on this thing, and even the stern keel, even though it doesn't have a rudder or a skeg to help this thing track, does not have problems tracking. I mean, when you have a strong side wind, it is going to weathercock. It is going to be more challenging, but it tracks very well for a 12-foot kayak. Because of its thermal-formed make, that hard plastic that it's made of that is very, very firm, very rigid, it glides. It glides really beautiful and quietly through the water, a lot like a composite kayak, like a Kevlar kayak. It felt more like a Kevlar kayak than a plastic kayak on the water. And I think that was a combination of the fact that it glides so well because it's thermoformed, and because it's like a little torpedo. It really cuts through the water nicely. So I really enjoyed paddling this boat. So now let's talk about comfort. Is it a comfortable kayak? Absolutely. Very comfortable kayak. The framed seat, not many kayaks, sit-inside kayaks have framed seats. You see them a lot more on sit-on-top kayaks, but you're seeing more and more sit-inside kayaks have these suspension framed seats because they're so darn comfortable. They conform to different butt shapes and hip shapes, and it's a nice and wide seat. So I mean, I don't have a narrow butt, but I wasn't hitting any of the bars. It was a really comfortable seat. I expected that because this is the third Hurricane kayak that I've tested, and they've all been really comfortable. Great seats in them. It also has foot pegs, full foot braces in this thing. Awesome. Great leg support. That combined with the pads or the legs made it really comfortable. I mean, I could see sitting in this boat for quite a long time without a problem. So top marks for comfort. They say it's good for someone up to around 6'6". I would agree with that. I'm 6'2". I had the foot pegs maxed, but I also had the seat in the furthest forward position. If I kick the seat back a bit, I could easily gain 3 inches. So, I mean, so a 6'6" person isn't going to have 4 inches longer legs than I do in all likelihood. So no problem in my mind fitting someone at least 6'5" into this boat. With a 375-pound weight capacity too, really it's a boat that can fit a wide range of people. I also don't think that it's a boat that if you put a significantly smaller person than me, that they would feel dwarfed in it. It doesn't have that big, bulky feel. So it's a very versatile boat that way. It would accommodate a wide range of sizes. Now the features that the Prima has, the seat, the foot pegs, great. But let's talk about 2 other key features. One being the double bulkheads. There's a bulkhead in front of the feet and there's a bulkhead behind the seat. Now, the bulkhead behind the seat is really nice because there's a hatch on the stern so that you can access that separate compartment for storing gear if you want to go on camping trips, or just to try to keep gear more waterproof. It's not going to be completely waterproof. If you flip this kayak, don't expect no water to get in there. You want to still dry bag anything that goes in there, but it definitely separates. Not much water is going to come in. That's great. The bulkhead in front of the foot braces, there is no hatch to get in there. So it's really just air in there. And the reason for that is for safety. If you were to flip this kayak and it was to completely swamp, or just even a big wave hit you and completely swamped, it's only the cockpit, the center area where you're sitting, that's going to get swamped. The front of the kayak, that is, because of that bulkhead, is going to stay filled with air. Same with the back of the kayak. That is a really wonderful safety feature. Even though this kayak isn't designed for going into rough conditions, it is great to know that if you do get swamped, it's going to be much easier to deal with this kayak. With all that air trapped in this kayak, much easier to swim the boat to shore, much easier to do an on-water re-entry or an assisted re-entry, much easier for someone to tow this boat to shore. It's just a nice feature. Now, the other feature, which I already talked about, the back hatch, is really cool too. Now, I recognize this hatch from Bonafide because Hurricane and Bonafide are made by the same companies. And the Bonafide kayaks, I believe, are the first ones to come out with this hatch, which opens either direction. Very smart. And it completely comes off too. No matter what side you're on, you can open it very easily from sitting in the kayak, but when you're out of the kayak or someone else is coming up to it, they can open it from behind. Or if you're shoving camping gear into the boat, then you can just take that hatch lid right off and have full access. And the hatch lid also has bungee straps on it, so you can actually stack or put dry bags on there. There's more storage there. So I love that. It's just a little added feature that I really like. Other than that, there's not a lot of features to be had, except for the gear tracks in the front, which is in a great position because the cockpit is so big. That gear track on the front of the kayak is far enough ahead that it's great for mounting cameras. It's probably a little far forward for comfortably using rod holders, but you can do it. But great for cameras in particular. So who is the Hurricane Prima 125 Sport for? Well, this is a kayak it's a recreational kayak, first of all. It is designed for flat water. It's got the big cockpit so that anyone can sit in it's easy to get into, easy to get out of. If you were to flip, there's no way you can stay in. You're going to just fall out of this thing. So there's no sense of confinement whatsoever. But because of that big cockpit, it also, although it can take an oversized skirt, although I've never even used an oversized, if you have one of these kayaks, it means you really don't want a skirt for the most part. So it could take one, but it's not going to stop. If a wave were to drop on your skirt even, it's not going to stop the skirt from exploding, which means this kayak is for flat water purposes. It's a flat water kayak. It's a kayak that's designed to balance performance and speed. It's for someone who really does want to be able to cover some distance and glide and have a fun paddling experience, not just get on the water. But it has the stability that you don't need to go for distances. You can just sit in the boat without feeling tippy whatsoever. And so it is a very versatile kayak that way. In terms of value, this is a kayak that at $1,500, it's not a cheap kayak. This range of kayaks, the rotomolded versions of these 12 and a half foot kayaks like this, they typically go for around $1,200 to $1,300. So you pay a little premium for this kayak. And what you're paying for is a couple of things. First and foremost, you're paying for the thermoformed build of this boat instead of it being rotomolded, which means it's about 15 to 20% lighter than a comparable rotomolded kayak. And that's a big deal. You're talking about dropping a solid 10 pounds out of this boat, if not more. On top of that, you're getting a boat that is it's just harder. It's a harder plastic and firmer, and it glides better through the water. And it's a better paddling experience than a rotomolded boat, absolutely. How much better? Well, some people would really notice it. Experienced paddlers, less experienced paddlers might not notice it as much, but it is noticeable. It definitely is noticeable. So that's primarily what you're paying a premium for. You're also getting the stadium or the frame seat, which is a great bonus, and that and the double bulkheads, which most kayaks in this class don't have, so that added safety factor. So you're getting quite a bit for the small or the premium, the couple $100 premium you're paying for this. Is it worth it? Well, I think it absolutely is worth it for a lot of people. Is it worth it for everybody? Well, no, it's not worth it for people who want a kayak that they can beat up, abuse, not worry about, because that's not the benefit of thermoformed kayaks. The kayaks are lighter, they're harder, but they are more fragile. You have to take better care of them. I mean, they're not fragile. They're designed to be used, but not abused. Rotomolded kayaks, on the other hand, a little bit cheaper, and they're like Tupperware containers. You can beat the crap out of them. That's why they make whitewater kayaks that way. So it's for somebody who doesn't want a kayak that is just they can beat up, drag across the rocks, not even worry about how they tie down, throw in the back of their pickup and just crank it down or whatever. Someone who is okay with taking better care of their boat, is willing to pay a premium, a small premium, I think, for some real upgrades, and in particular, a drop in weight. So overall, absolutely 2 thumbs up for this boat. This is the kind of boat I really enjoy paddling because it's a fun paddling experience. I can see a lot of people really liking this boat, and not many people being upset about the price once they get this thing on the water. So 2 thumbs up for the Hurricane Prima 125 Sport. You know, I'm actually trying to think of something that I don't really like about this boat, and nothing stuck out at me. It was like, oh, I wish it didn't do that. I wish there's nothing dumb on this boat, nothing impractical. It's all really well done. So, gosh, I expect to find even little pet peeves in a boat, but I haven't found it in the boat in this short time. So that being said, this boat isn't new. This boat has been on the market for a couple of years. Leave a comment down below if you have more experience in this boat, and tell me about your experience in this. What do you like about it? How do you use this boat? But you know, is there anything that you would like to see changed in this boat? Did you find something that I didn't? Well, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below, a question if you have any questions for me, and subscribe to Paddle TV if you haven't already. I got lots of gear reviews coming out. Always have tips coming out, a lot more paddling adventures as well, including some good expeditions this year. So stay tuned, a lot more coming your way.